One last question about this meditation. What is it that typically keeps people from achieving a state of well-being?
I think even having the intention of a joyful, energetic body, love and compassion in the heart, a clear mind, and a connection to the divine, just those 4 intentions sets you on a journey. But most people don't think about it.
Let's talk about this for a second. The mental approach to controlling your thoughts and actions, because positive thoughts produce positive results. What's the mental approach that a person should have to combat self-defeating actions or self-defeating thoughts?
I think positive thinking by itself can be stressful, because a lot of people are trying to be positive and they're not feeling positive, and that makes a lot of stress. So positive thinking, if it is natural and authentic, is very good. But if you're forcing yourself to be positive, you'll create a turbulent mind. So a positive mind can be a turbulent mind in the same way as a negative mind can be a turbulent mind. So the way you reframe this is, if you have a limiting belief, like I'll never be successful, or I'll never make money, or I'm not attractive, or I can't lose weight, or I can't give up smoking, or whatever, you should write down the following questions. The first question should be, is that really true? That I'll never be successful. Then write down after that, am I 100% sure if that's true? Why do I believe that to be true? And you'll find out because somebody told you when you were a kid and you believed them. That's it. A belief is a thought that you hold to be true because somebody told you it was true, period. So what you now do is you question that. Is it true? Am I 100% true? Why do I have it? Who told me? What are the other possibilities? What is the opposite of this belief? All of that. And then just ask yourself, if I had to sing my song, not worrying who listens or what they think, that would be my gift. Isn't it? You sing your song. You came here to sing a song. It's your gift. You don't care who listens or what they think. You just get rid of your limiting beliefs, because behind those beliefs is faith. Faith is not the same thing as belief. Belief is believing a story. It's actually a cover-up for insecurity. Faith is knowing yourself as connected to the divine. That's it.
You're so spot on about the belief. Belief is just hearing something and just going along with it. I believe that to be true. Faith is the belief in things that you cannot see.
Without which there is no seeing. Without the things you cannot see, there is no seeing.
Man, that's spot on right there. You've got to be a person that talks to people on all different levels out there. And you talk to people about achieving their goals. You've talked to them about defeating action, negative energy, and fear. And you've written that some of these things can be due to social pressure people put on themselves or have to act with low emotional intelligence. What do you mean by that when you say low emotional intelligence?
It means to be bamboozled by the stories that you hear. The everyday stories are the hypnosis of social conditioning. So to actually go beyond that is to start the process of reflection. Once you start reflecting on the meaning of your existence, that's a journey that never stops. In the spiritual traditions, they say the causes of human suffering are, first of all, not knowing who you are. Secondly, fear of expressing your gifts. Third, clinging and grasping because you feel poor, but you're actually rich and abundant if you could connect to your source. 4, identifying with your ego. And 5th, the fear of death. And all these 5 fears come from not knowing yourself. So the most important thing is know yourself. Know yourself as a divine soul in a universal spirit.
Somebody told me a long time ago the biggest cause of failure is the fear of failure. What is the message you try to get through to people to help them battle that fear that usually paralyzes them?
Who would I be without this fear? Just that one question. And then go for that. Go for what you would be. That's your potential. Who would I be beyond this fear? Fear is like a fire. You have to go through it. You can't go around it.
I'm actually liking this conversation because it's going really different than what I thought it was going to go. Because, you know, you have this big title, you wrote these books, you're Dr. Deepak Chopra, you know, you go, woo. And I'm Steve Harvey, you know, I know what I am. I'm an entertainer, I'm a motivational person, but I'm real common and down to earth. It's surprising to me to finally sit with you and discover that you're very basic. You're not talking where it's over my head. I thought I was gonna have to get my thesaurus out to have this conversation with you. And I'm sitting up here going, man, this guy is just talking in regular verbiage where you can't miss the message that you're giving. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate that.
You know what? You're a healer. You make people happy. That's what healing is. That's it.
Let me ask you this question, because you were going down the list of things that about emotional intelligence and everything. What's been probably one of the remarkable experiences that you witnessed in regards to the power of a person's emotional intelligence, or yours?
One experience was going to Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela was in prison for over 20 years, and looking at the conditions of their imprisonment, particularly Mr. Mandela's, and hearing the stories of courage of those prisoners who were basically didn't have even room to breathe. Mr. Mandela was in a room about this big, had to go every day to the field to move his bowels or, you know, for his daily rituals. Sat in a quarry breaking stones, and he was never humiliated. He was always had dignity. I heard a story there once by one of the prisoners who said one day the prisoners were taking a break at the quarry. They were getting their breakfast, and the Afrikaner, the guards, you know, the white guards were serving breakfast, and accidentally some hot porridge fell on one of the prisoners' skin, and the guard called him out. And the story is that one of those prisoners was actually Nelson Mandela. Asked him to strip his shirt and whipped him. And this prisoner stood there with dignity, not even flinching his eyes and not even flinching his muscles, straight dignity. And after the injury was over and he was let go, he went back to the quarry and he started working as if nothing had happened. And that day, he became a hero in the eyes of the other prisoners. Now that's a story that inspires humanity forever. Dignity. That's human dignity in the face of abomination.
That's really a compelling story. See, I'll take that story and I'll use that, because these stories that you talk about, that's who we are. And if you didn't have the fear of what could go wrong, you're absolutely correct. What story would you tell about yourself?
And that story I told you about Nelson Mandela, I have never read that story. I was told by the former prisoners that story, and you know, it was about him. But it's not there out in the public. It is there by people who witnessed that story.
Wow.
And who were inspired by that story. In the end, by the way, it is stories that create our life. If you ask yourself, what's my story? What's my backstory? What's my current story? What's the story ahead? What's the dream? You start the journey.
I oftentimes tell people they have to dream bigger than their fears. You know, somebody asked me one time, what made you never give up? And it was just, for me, it was the things I wanted in life were bigger than the challenges I was facing. Because I knew eventually these challenges were, I'm either gonna go through them, I'm gonna go over them, or I'm gonna get under them. One of the three things is gonna happen. So I've always had a great spirit of keeping going. Now, it's been challenging and difficult. And it's been days, man, I didn't think I was gonna make it. But I've always tried to share that part. When people experience these roadblocks, these challenges, these setbacks, walk us through some advice you have for overcoming challenges and setbacks.
There are many things one can do. So one is that you always ask yourself in times of conflict, what am I observing? What are the facts? Okay, then what am I feeling? That's the second question. Third question is, what is the need? And the fourth question is, how do we fulfill that need? So that is the sequence always. What do we observe? What do we feel? What do we need? What's the best way to fulfill this need? And how do we do it? That's the first way. Second, and this is a little difficult because we are so used to reacting in the way we were treated. But if you want to resolve a conflict, even with your adversary, you have to speak to them with respect, number one. Number two, you have to recognize that there is injustice. Number three, there's a role for forgiveness, not because the other person deserves forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. Number four, you need to be socially and emotionally intelligent, which means you have to have empathy, compassion, love, kindness in your heart. Number five, you can't be belligerent. Number six, you don't prove the other person wrong. And on and on. There are certain rules, if you follow, you can resolve any conflict. The main thing to realize is for yourself, always be authentic, always be true to your word, have a higher calling, and be grateful. And you'll change your story.
I'm on board with everything you're saying, and I'm actually learning a few techniques from you along the way too, which I'm really appreciative of.
This is your time to live your absolute best life, and why not start by empowering yourself? All right, so here at Vault, we know that you want to do something great in the world, and we've created great content for you. So like, subscribe, post it, repost it, share it, get your friends to sign up and join us here at Vault Empowers.